Hey everybody, Garcia here, and today I'm taking a look at a tiny expansion to Shakespeare here. This is Shakespeare Backstage. As you can tell from the packaging here, this is just a deck of cards, and in this package you're going to get new cards that shuffle right into previous types of cards, and you're also going to get a new deck that's an entirely new idea, the Backstage cards. Those are going to give you new options, new possibilities, basically new avenues for strategies, and you're still doing the same thing. You are rehearsing a play, hiring actors and crew, getting ready, and at the end of a week or so, seeing if you have the most victory points. I'm not going to be explaining how to play Shakespeare in the video. I'm just going to show you what's in here, how it ties into the original game, all right? So let's go ahead and dive into it, and I'll see you on the other side. So in the expansion, you're going to get a few new things. You are going to get 5 objective cards that you shuffle into the objective deck. You're going to get 9 new actors that, again, you shuffle into the objective deck. And you're going to get this new mechanism, which is the Backstage cards. So let me go ahead and walk you through these. I'll do the main new mechanism last. So the new objectives behave just like the old ones. And this one here is basically the same as the original deck, except you're going to get 1 point per each of these. And then these other 4 are different, and they may be triggered from your hand at the beginning of the ambiance phase to take an ability. And then you discard the card. So these are not kept until the end of the game. As usual, they are going to give you something in the middle of a turn, basically. So there you go. They're fairly self-explanatory, as you can see, and these are nice. They give you a new thing to do when you draw 3 cards from the objective deck, and the other, what you drew was not something you were going for, not something you think you can achieve. Well, you can always take one of these if you got one and get some nice bonus out of it. So these are great. These are always in for me. And that's one thing you can do. You can just choose to shuffle these in all the time, even if you're playing with all the other things. The actors are going to have a few new things as well. You are going to have some that are fairly typical with some new abilities, of course. Ophelia here gives you one of these tokens at +3 to grab set pieces or costumes. You are going to have the ghost here that penalizes everyone else. You're going to be able to, when you do a rehearsal, draw more objective cards. But then you've got some that have only 2 pieces of costume, like these 2 here. And they are going to not have a rehearsal power. Instead, they modify their regular power once they are fully costumed. So both of these give you the blue or the red feather respectively, or 2 blue, 2 red when they are fully costumed. And that is true for a couple of other ones. This one, for example, gives you 1 of each color, but there is an ambiance penalty. Once it's fully clothed, the penalty goes away. We've got a couple of other special ones, so this is more of the same. We've got this one here where everybody else during a rehearsal will lose an advancement on one of those act tracks. And then we've got these 2 here. The bear lets you act first. From that point on, at the beginning of every round, you're going to take an action before anybody else does, and then you use normal turn order. So very powerful, especially early on in the game. So those are the new actors. And then, again, you can choose to just shuffle them in and play with without including this new mechanism. But let's go ahead and talk about that, okay? So let me remove these for the moment. If you are going to play with the Backstage cards, everyone is going to need one of these that might come into play. And then you will shuffle this up, put it on the table. You're also going to separate all of the actors from the deck, including the new ones and the old ones. Shuffle them up, the actors, remove 9 actors, and the rest just go back into the pile, shuffle that up, put it on the table as normal. So you need a set-aside pile of 9 actors randomly. And then you are ready to begin. So in the original game, when you were wagering to take actions, you would hold as many of these as you wanted in your hand, right? You'd reveal them, and whoever wagered the fewest would go first, could go earlier, and sometimes could get a victory point for doing so. And then they'd have this many actions, right? You'd have 3 actions. Somebody else bid 5, they have 5 actions. Okay, but that meant there were 2 that you were wasting. And, however many you were wasting. Sometimes if you really, really wanted something, you might even wager 2 or 1, and then you were really wasting a lot of your turn. Well, now, that is no longer the case. Now, when you wager, and let's do the same thing, okay? I'm wagering 3. The rest of these that I did not put into that are going to go on top of this deck. And they are going to be used backstage. So every time I'm setting up a new round, I'll reveal new characters, new actors or workers, depending on the number of players. I'm also going to reveal a number of backstage cards, depending on the number of players. So for example, with 3 players, we would reveal 5 of these. Let's go ahead and take a look at 5 of these. There we go. And then, like I said, these tokens would go on the deck like so. All right? And then a new turn you have, instead of activating a character or recruiting a character, is using someone from backstage. They have to be someone that has not been used by anyone else yet. And you are going to put a number of your cylinders on it and activate it. So, for example, let's take a look at what we've got here. This one, if I send a single cylinder to it, I will take a value 1 set design piece and put it on this card right here at the bottom. If I send 2 cylinders, I'll take a 2, a 3, or a 4, and then 3 cylinders, I would take a 5. They have to be available for the day. And they go on here. Once I cover the spot, I get a point, and I get whatever the piece gives me. For the next one, once I do this again later on, I'm going to get whatever that piece gives me and whatever's below it. And so as you build this up, you could trigger the one at the bottom multiple times, and all the ones below the new one. Very cool, neat new idea, completely new mechanism for the game. And once I've gone here, by the way, nobody else this turn can go there with the ones that ended up backstage. The next one over here is Rag Picker. He's going to let you take things from the discard pile when you're finding costumes or set pieces. This one over here lets you activate a character that you already have, whether that character has been activated or not. And depending on the number of tokens you put on it, is based on the value you can get. So, if you put a single token on there, a value 1 character, value 3, or a value 5 with all 3 tokens. This one behaves much like the one in the regular deck. You're going to get a golden piece of set or costume. And then this one here, which is very cool, lets you put out 1 fewer exhaustion token at the end of this round. So if you would normally, I had, in this case, 3 of these. Let's say I exhausted all 3 of these. Well, and normally you do all of them but 1. So I might exhaust both of these. And then, leave this one alone. In this case, I can just exhaust the 1. So there you go. Those are the kinds of things you're going to see backstage. And there's a few different things. This one's going to mess with the ambiance. This one will allow you, this is the hatter, will allow you to put a hat on somebody as an extra piece of costume. And if you make a specific number combination, you get a point for that. You are going to Kit Marlowe here, lets you move up on the act tracks. There's a few different things in here. And yes, you'll certainly see some repeated. This one here is the one that lets you take new actors from that set-aside pile of cards, from those 9. A single token on here gets you 2 coins, and you may recruit the top one. If you put 2 tokens, you get 2 coins, and you can look at the entire deck of 9 cards and take the one you want. Very cool. So there you go. That's what this is all about. This is going to change the cadence of the game. It's going to change what you do with the bid of tokens that normally would be set aside, that would do nothing for the round. Well, you're going to do something with them now. And I should mention, the card that you recruit with, if you do not use it to recruit for the round, you may use it as one of your backstage discs here, cylinders, to activate someone. So it counts as an extra cylinder backstage if you wanted to, all right? So there you go. Hopefully that gives you an idea of what you are going to encounter in the expansion, the way it's going to shake it up, and the new abilities you can discover. So let's go ahead and go back up top. Let me tell you what I think of it. All right, that is Backstage for Shakespeare. I like Shakespeare quite a bit. I think it's an excellent game, but I have to say, I think it's even better with this expansion. And this is something that, for me, I think this is always in from here on out. Even when I'm teaching someone new, I think this is going to be in for me. So I really like it. Let's go ahead and talk about why I like it. The theme here, this expands the playing field of the original game. It gives you new ideas to mess with while remaining true to the spirit of the original game. It's staying thematic. It doesn't suddenly take you outside of the world that it had set up before. The aesthetics are great. Great iconography. Everything's well explained. The cards are well cut, so they shuffle right into the original decks with no problem. Big thumbs up there. So, same artist. I mean, it all looks... If I did not tell you these cards were from an expansion, you wouldn't know so. That's how this needs to be done. I'm very happy about that. The replay value here is great, of course. That's ideally what these expansions do. But it's going to give you a bunch of new choices. It's going to be new energy in the game, new things to discover, new big avenues, like all the Backstage stuff, and new little avenues. You know, having the bear that lets you go first every turn. Okay. Having, like just new objective cards or little things. So the growth of what was going on before is nicely fleshed out. You know, it's going to not just be one new path, but it plugs into a bunch of smaller paths and revitalizes them as well. Excuse me. All right, let's see. We've got our game arc here is great. You can basically now find answers to the issues you had before in unexpected places, and I'm a big fan of that. It stays about the same game length, about the same level of tension before the two rehearsals. Just new things to play with, new toys. The ease of play is really good for how much more you can do. And by that I mean how much more you can do towards achieving your goal of ultimately winning, right? There's one new action type. Yes, the new cards, you'll have to look up the symbology a couple of times, but it's basically one new action. You can activate a character, you can hire a character, or use a Backstage card. That's it. That's the new thing. But there's so much there. So I really find it to be... It's captivating that they were able to do so much with so little and change the game fundamentally with a deck of 50 cards. Lastly, we have tactics and strategy and luck. And again, I keep dancing around the same thing here, but ultimately this gives you a nice amount of new things to mess with, new answers to the same old problems. How do I move up on this track? How do I activate this? How do I beat you there? Well, now you have several new things you could use to achieve that. So, very cool. Overall, I really like this one, and I am going to rate this a 9 out of 10, which means it's going to get a seal of excellence. Absolutely recommend this. If you like Shakespeare, you're going to want to get your hands on this. Throw it right in the box. Forget about it. It's going to just give you a more robust experience, a more engaging world, and amazing new artwork and things to do. So there you go. Shakespeare Backstage. Again, 9 out of 10 from me. That's it, everybody. I'm Z Garcia. I'll see you on the next one.